Randolph? Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. On the monitors and the, if you're watching from home, your television has the phone numbers and the meeting ID and the password on it. And if you want to call in, you can use any of those numbers and the password and everything. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. If you disagree with any decisions this commission makes, you have the right to appeal it to the council. There are appeal cards, I believe, over on the railing to my right. And if you wish to speak, speaker cards are over there as well. Public speaking, 10 minutes each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. And after your case is heard, please exit the building so that we can have some other folks come in. I believe we're going to move up the last case. It's a plan review 15-04-003. Do I have a motion to move that up? We got a motion by Commissioner Randolph, second by Commissioner Fitzmars. Please vote.
The motion has passed to move up case PR 15-04-003.
Thank you. All right. Plan review 15-04-003, use Christ Episcopal School, corridor is Highway 21 Plan Corridor Overlay. Zoning is ED1 Primary Education District and ED2 Higher Education District. The use size is 36.07 acres. The petitioner is John Pousson. Owner is Christ Episcopal Church. Parcel located on the southeast corner of Louisiana Highway 21 and Christwood Boulevard, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
If the commissioners had a chance to review the staff comments, at this time we would like to request to postpone the case until next month, as we need additional information, additional drawing, as it is listed on the staff report.
Okay, is Mr. Pousson in the audience? Yes, sir. Good evening.
I'm John Pousson with Christ Episcopal School. I'm the finance director there. We would request that this commission consider this tonight, and maybe let's put it behind us. The 4 issues that were being asked for, we think we've satisfied most of those today. I know staff hasn't had a good chance to review them all, but they have been submitted. If we delay this another month, it's going to create a domino effect with some other things we have going on campus, like the new building we're building. We need occupancy for January in order to move some students in there and to finish our school year. This particular thing we're asking for is in a planned corridor overlay, and it's really an ugly site right now. We want to get it cleaned up and take down some dead trees and plant some new stuff. The request from staff wished to provide a complete tree survey. That was submitted today, but we know they haven't had a chance to review it. Landscape buffer plan number 2 was part of that submittal. And number 3, a plan showing a dumpster on a civil plan and a live oak on a landscape plan being where the dumpster is. We think that's a very minor thing that can be taken care of, between us and staff. And typical correction on a set of plans, just move a tree or a dumpster. And number 4, the parking calculations were submitted earlier. They might not be sufficient, we don't know. We haven't, Mr. Altman, who designed this for us, has found where he submitted these calculations. And we do understand there might be some additional stuff needed, but haven't had a chance to actually, have a conversation with staff to get this done. The problem is if we delay this for another month, it's going to back up some of these other issues that we need to get taken care of, and some are critical. And there's some comments in here about drainage. We've hired engineers, and we're taking bids right now to actually do this additional drainage work up front to ensure whatever we planted there doesn't die. So we're on track to get all this done. But we really believe that issues have become minor now that we really would like for you to consider.
Well, let me stop you right there. You're asking us as a commission to put all the burden of review and approval on staff. And very honestly, I have a problem with that, and I think most of my commissioners have a problem with that. They're not going to be able to see what you submitted today. And we like to look at what's been submitted and ask questions if necessary.
Sure.
So, I'm gonna leave it up to the commissioners. If this is postponed a month, I understand what you're trying to do is keep everything on a timeline. But by the same token, I want my commissioners to be able to see what they're approving,
Right.
okay?
And we understand that, and we would not be asking for this if we didn't feel this was critical. The actual plans and all, I think staff agrees that what we've submitted so far is a vast improvement. And, we've got agreements verbally, and that these plans all look good. As far as our landscaping plan, these issues here have to do more with all the rest of the property, which is not part of the planned corridor overlay. And,
Okay. I believe Helen would like to comment on it. Wait a minute. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not only the fact that, they submitted a tree survey this afternoon. It's more than a tree survey because the school is also requesting to plant some required trees that would normally be planted within the 50-foot buffer, but they plant them elsewhere on the property. And the board has to grant that variance or not grant the variance. They're gonna have to review the plan. So at this time, it's very difficult for us to just move forward and, grant them a blanket okay to move the trees elsewhere. So this is in a plan corridor. It has to come in front of the zoning commission and voted on by the zoning commission. In regards to the dead trees that have to be removed, we'll be happy to work with you in that regards because the trees are dead. So they're not gonna come back to life. So we can work with you in that regards. And the other points as far as the dumpster and all that, that's just correcting the plan. So we're mostly looking into, having the correct plan presented to the board so they can either, vote in favor or not in favor of it.
Okay. Let me see if there's anyone else in the audience that would like to speak either for or against on this. Seeing no one, I'm going to bring you back to the commissioners. Commissioner Drum.
Yes, sir. Could you come back up, please? I'm sorry, I missed your name earlier. I was too busy finding the page. I apologize.
it's okay. John?
Well, Mr. John, we have a schedule that the staff asks for when they need information so that they can present it to us. Was there a reason why this was delayed in getting to them until today?
The original survey to do all the trees took a long time. The surveyor had COVID issues and all of those things. When he submitted it to him, he put a clause in there or a statement in there that said that he's not an arborist and he can't guarantee the tree variety. So staff came back and asked our landscape designer, Mr. Altman, to, we needed to get those things, and Mr. Altman was working on it, but the time was compressed on getting it done. So over this last weekend, he had to go and check all the trees on the 30-something acre part of the campus and get them and get these new plants submitted. So he got them in today, and that's all we can do.
You didn't know that the gentleman you had asked wasn't an arborist? The first gentleman, you didn't know that he didn't know about trees, that you asked to do this?
No, I think it was just more one of those statements that, surveyors and all put on there, to cover.
Well, the staff has requested that we delay because they need the information to give to us. If we go ahead and just sign a blank check, anything could be done with that blank check. And I'm not too happy with that. And I know you have a schedule, but we have an obligation to follow the law and the rules that have been given to us. And the staff has requested something from us. So I'm going to make a request that I'm going to make a motion that your request right now be denied for 30 days.
Okay.
Be postponed?
Postpone, I keep saying, I'm sorry, postpone. I have to learn
till our next meeting.
I need to learn the English ways of doing things. I apologize.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Drum to postpone till our next meeting, which should be about 30 days. Commissioner Seeger. Second by Commissioner Seeger. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Kirk? Okay, it's not showing up. All right. All right. Oops, I'm sorry, wait. Motion to postpone passed.
Okay, thank you. All right, I inadvertently, for some reason, skipped the invocation and the pledge and
And this minutes.
yeah, everything's showing no vote right now. It was unanimous with one absent, right?
It showed that everyone, yeah. Okay. Showing Seeger, Russ, Willie, not showing Drum, Richard, it's showing McKinnis, and she's on here. And it's not showing Paul's either.
Paul, did you,
All right, and Paul's didn't. I don't know why McKinnis is on there and she shouldn't be. All right, let's see if it shows. Oh, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. All right, the motion to postpone passed.
okay, thank you. All right,
There's mine.
I want to back up to invocation. Please rise for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the pledge by Commissioner Barcelona.
Gracious Father, once again we come to you as humble as we know how, but with thanksgiving and praise in our hearts. We recognize those blessings and grace and mercy upon each and every one of us, our families, our homes. Lord, we thank you for this parish that we reside in. We thank you for our parish government and leaders and all of our employees. And Lord, we thank you for protecting all the residents during and subsequent to Hurricane Zeta, Lord. We thank you for being with us and providing us with wonderful, beautiful, cool air. And Lord, allow this meeting to be a blessing and bless every family in this parish. It's in your holy name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to right, the next item is the approval of the October 6th, 2020 minutes. There was a copy in your packet. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review them. Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Randolph. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
The motion to approve passes.
Thank you. Helen, do we have any other postponements? Okay. All right. Public hearings, zoning change, request cases, applications for a proposed change of zoning districts or amendments to the land use ordinance requiring review and recommendations of approval by the zoning commission before action by the parish council are as follows. Item 1 is 2020-2030-ZC. The existing zoning is A1A Suburban District. The proposed zoning is NC1 Professional Office District. Location, parcel located on the south side of US 190 west of North Pontchartrain Drive, Lacombe, Ward 4, District 7. Staff? Wait a minute. Okay.
The purpose of the NC1 Professional Office District is to provide for the location of small-scale services adjacent to residential neighborhoods with minimal impact. The subject property is developed with an existing office, and the requested change would bring the site into compliance with the appropriate zoning designation. For that reason, staff is not opposed to the request.
Thank you. Alan Vest. Good evening, sir.
How are y'all? I'm Alan Vest. I was hoping to change that, honestly, just to kind of bring it into compliance, that when they did the comprehensive rezoning, there were about 30 lots, I'd say, that were that same size that go all the way out of Lacombe coming toward Big Branch. About 30 lots, and they were all rezoned, except for, I'd say with the exception of the last 5 or 6 lots there. And the A1A called for multi-acre family home sites and agriculture, and it was about 3/4 of an acre the lot was, which I felt kind of just relegated it to, you know, a small residential lot right on 190 would have been really the only use for it, and I didn't feel like that was a good zoning situation for it.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak for or against on this zoning change? Seeing no one, I will bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford. You should, all right, it should be on.
Mr. Vest, how long has the building been there?
I'd say approximately 15 years.
Okay, and you use it as a residence and a business?
That's
or-
correct.
Okay, okay. Mr. Chairman, I'm familiar with the area, and I think it's appropriate to concur with staff, so I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item is 2020-2048-ZC. The existing zoning is A1 Suburban District. Proposed zoning is A1A Suburban District. Parcel located on the end of Oak Hill Drive, Covington, Ward 2, District 2. It's 9.21 acres. Petitioner's Thomas Oldman. Owner's Thomas Oldman, Council District 2. Staff? Okay,
The subject property consists of 9.21 acres, which is currently zoned A1, where it allows a density of 1 unit per 5 acres. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to A1A, which allows for a density of 1 unit per 3 acres. The site is surrounded by A1 suburban zoning, and a zoning change would increase the density in the area. For that reason, staff is not in favor of the request. However, would like to bring up to your attention, if you had the chance to look at the survey, this is for parcel B, the 9.21 acres, and the owner is requesting, or will have to come back through the minor subdivision process to subdivide that property into 2 parcels and not having the full 10 acres. That's the reason for the request.
okay, Mr. Ullman, are you in the,
Good evening.
good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. What I'd like to do is I have the 9.21 acres, and I live on the 9.21 acres, and I want to give my youngest son the 4.21 acres so he and his wife and family can build on it and live on it.
Okay. So Helen, what we need to, or he needs to withdraw this?
No, sir. If you look at the survey, that's what he's requesting to rezone, the 9.21 acres.
Right.
So he can come back and go through the minor subdivision process to be able to split it. So he lives on a portion of the 9.21 acres, and he would like to give a portion to his son.
Okay. What do we need to do so that,
He's requesting a zoning change to A1A to be able to split the property.
okay,
So the commission is here to vote on his request to rezone to A1A.
all right. All right, thank you. Let's see if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak for or against on this. Yes, sir. Come forward and state your name and address, and if you haven't filled out a speaker card, please do so.
Okay, I'm not real sure where they at, but I'll find one.
They're right over here to my right.
Okay. Can I go ahead and speak first?
Yes.
All right, my name is Wayne Rayborn, and I live at 19013 Oak Hill Drive. It is right down the road from my friend Tommy. I am not opposed to him giving his son. He's a family man. This was his father's property before his. It's his property now, and he wants to give a piece to his son, and I think that that's proper. And I would appreciate a favorable ruling from y'all. I would appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Got it. Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with this. This is pretty simple. This parcel here is, of course, owned by Mr. Oman, but it's also a lot of other Oman property in that area, and it's just real simple. I'll move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Seeger.
Mr. Ullman, how long has this property been in your family?
About 67 years.
The road that Oak Hill runs into, right on the other side of that is a district line, and it is allowed for A1A on the other side of Oak Hill. So I want to, did you make a motion, Bernie? I'll second the motion.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Dave? The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right. Next item is 2020-2054-ZC, existing zoning is A2 Suburban District. Proposed zoning is A2 Suburban District and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay. Parcel located on the east side of Beverly Drive, north of Lake Ramsey Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. It's 3.03 acres. The petitioner is Grant Cozine, Owners Grant Cozine, Council District 3. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan designate the sites to be developed with residential dwellings, including manufactured home. Staff does not have any objection to the request.
Thank you. All right, is Mr. Cozine? Good evening.
Howdy.
So you're wanting to just add manufactured housing overlay to
Just,
the
I just want to
3.3 acres?
rezone the property just to have a trailer move to the front portion. And I'm gonna leave the other two as natural as possible in the back. Because it's zoned as agriculture now.
Okay. All right,
And that's it.
all right, let me see if there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak for or against on this item. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, staff. My name is Trey Late. My office address is 1966 North Highway 190, Suite B, Covington. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of Mr. Joe Scott. Mr. Scott is the owner of the parcels immediately to the north and to the east of this. I have some handouts. I'm not sure what the protocol with COVID considerations is for getting them to you, but I have them here. There are 3 sheets here in color. And the first of which, I'll wait a minute for them to be disseminated. Thank you, Aaron. While Aaron is passing those out, I'll tell you that I have visited this property, driven the extent of Beverly Drive, and when you receive the 3 handouts that I have for each of you, the first is a screenshot of what I call the Assessors Gis Portal, and on it you can see, if you orient yourself, you have Lake Ramsey Road at the bottom, which of course is east-west, and then you can see Highway 25 and Coon Road in the upper right-hand corner. The property that's owned by Mr. Cozine is highlighted there. My client owns the 2 lots immediately to the north of that on the same side of Beverly Drive, and then the 10-acre square behind them. If you were looking here, it'd be in this vicinity here. Having visited Mr. Scott's property, I can best describe it as property that he purchased approximately 10 years ago and has steadily and consistently been improving. It was a horse farm with the intention of building his forever and ever dream home. His daughter, Madison, if you look on the lot that is 2 above, where Mr. Cozine's property is, presently is permitting to build a single-family slab house of around $250,000, and is in the process of permitting that with the parish. The designs and plans that Mr. Scott has to build on the property where you see the driveway due north of Mr. Cozine's property, we're looking at a barn there in the neighborhood of $250,000, along with a house. There is a stocked pond there that's visible from the air in the neighborhood of $500,000. This has been in the works for the neighborhood of 10 years. Having driven Beverly Drive, I will not deny that there are other mobile homes that are on Beverly Drive. I counted 3 today by one pass. There is one directly across the street. The point I would make to you is that Beverly Drive has far more slab-on-grade houses with garages, ponds, accessory buildings, and you've got Penn Mill Lakes neighborhood to the south, several hundred homes there. You've got Lake Ramsey in the near vicinity. There's a trend in this side, in this neighborhood, that is moving away from manufactured homes. I've given you, in addition to that, some pictures showing a very elaborate horse farm and a pond that Mr. Scott has built and developed over the last 10 years. It's a really remarkable property. And he's very concerned about having a manufactured home overlay that is not presently permitted be put directly next door to him. What is not before you is Mr. Cozine's active sale. Mr. Cozine, who based on this lives in Covington on Bunny Lane currently, purchased this property in August of 2020 without any manufactured home overlay here. And, you know, this is not an instance where I haven't heard anything about, I have an ill mother-in-law and I'm building this for her next door. I have no indication that this is going to be a owner-occupied dwelling, and even if it was, Mr. Scott is still opposed to it. This is a beautiful neighborhood. I'm sure that Mr. Cozine has good intentions for the property. We're opposed to it for all those reasons. If you've been there, I think you've seen the exact same things that I've seen. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak against? We'll go to rebuttal. Mr. Cozine, you got 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay. Well, the neighbor directly to the right of the property is a good friend of mine. If she wasn't ill, she'd be here tonight. I've talked to the neighbors across the street. There are actually several trailers. They're old, very old trailers. I'm gonna be moving a 2014. I bought it brand new when I bought it. So it's gonna be the newest trailer in the neighborhood. The houses he's speaking of, they're all very, very old houses that the neighborhood is not pretty. So I'm actually gonna be bringing the newest house out there. The reason I bought the property is because my wife has cancer. And we need to get out of the situation we're in so that she can begin her recovery. And this was a peaceful property for us to do that. That's about all I had to say.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir, you got rebuttal?
No, I'm sure that Mr. Scott is sympathetic with Mr. Cozine's family situation. Other than that, simply saying on the record, he bought the lot without having the manufactured overlay, and I'm sorry. Mr. Scott is opposed to it. He's got a beautiful piece of property. I think the residents of Beverly Drive would take exception to Mr. Cozine's comment that Beverly Drive is not a nice neighborhood. It's very pretty. There's several very nice houses there with elaborate homesteads, ponds. It's a very pretty neighborhood. Mr. Scott's opposed to it. Unless you have questions, I think I've explained his position.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we've had presentation and rebuttal. I want to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
I have a question of staff first. Helen, I know there's mobile homes along that part of Beverly Drive, but they, like I said, they're much older. Are there any mobile home overlays on that section of Beverly Drive? Or are those mobile homes grandfathered in?
I would have to bring up the zoning map if you just want to give me.
I know on the handout, I didn't
moment.
see any mobile home overlay on the handout.
Okay, no, there's none, no.
There's none.
There are some existing mobile homes, but no
Right, and
mobile
they've been
home
there-
overlay.
So, they've been there over 10 years or so, yeah. Yeah, and that's what I know about Beverly Drive, is that that section of Beverly Drive has been in, the tendency of growth is towards stick-built homes. And I'm gonna have to go with that, so I'll move for denial.
All right, we have a motion to deny by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Barcelona,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Barcelona. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to deny carries.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna, next two items, 2057 and 2058, we're gonna hear them together, but we're going to vote on them separately. I'll read them into the record. 2020-2057-ZC, it's an A3 suburban district. Proposed zoning is A4 single-family residential. Location, parcel located on the west side of Carroll Road, south of Devon Drive, and north of Viosco Street, Slidell, Ward 9, District 12. It's 47.43 acres. The petitioner is CKB Development LLC, Cal Branton. The owner is Linwood Ennis, and the council district is 12. Staff? Let me go to the 2058 and read it into 2020-2058-ZC. Existing zoning is A4, single-family residential. Proposed zoning is A4, single-family residential, and PUD, Plan Unit Development Overlay. Location, parcel located on the west side of Carroll Road, south of Devon Drive, and north of Viosco Street, Slidell, Ward 9, District 12. It's 47.43 acres. The petitioner is CKB Development LLC, Kyle Branton. Owner is Linwood Ennis, and it's Council District 12. I'll let Helen get back, or Aaron, you gonna handle it, or? Okay.
The petitioner is requesting to add the PUD designation to a 47.43 acre piece of property. The proposal is for 89 residential units, which meets the PUD requirements and the maximum allowable density of the requested A4 single-family residential designation if the zoning commission votes favorably to change the underlying zoning. However, staff would like to note that while it does meet the density levels for the A4 request, a reduction of 18 proposed lots would allow the PUD plan to utilize the existing A3 zoning designation without increasing the density at all. Per the UDC, a minimum of 25% of open space is required. The 47-acre piece of property would require 11.855 acres of open space. The PUD plan does have a total of 13.5 acres of green space and exceeds the requirements. However, a majority of this green space is provided to adjacent to stormwater management ponds and is partly comprised of areas labeled public maintenance and drainage servitudes. Staff has concerns that the general areas of active recreation facilities included on the PUD plan are not clearly illustrated to be functional and beneficial locations. The majority of the active amenities provided look to be located in flood zones and will be difficult to access from residential living areas. The site's comprehensive plan designation and the purpose of a PUD specifically state that a higher increase in density and flexibility of site design should be exchanged for a public benefit and usable open space. Staff has determined the proposed development does not meet all of the objectives of the PUD, which require open space for public benefit, and is therefore not in favor of the increase in density the residential subdivision will create in the area.
Good evening. Mr. Doherty, Honorable Commission, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent the prospective purchaser of this tract and developer of the proposed Bayou Bend subdivision. That is CKB Development LLC. Because we have combined both cases, I may need to exceed the 10 minutes. I hope not to. If I do, I will ask you for additional time, but I will do my best to try to do it within the 10 minutes.
Okay.
And understand, of course, certainly that anyone in the audience would have the same privilege that you might consider affording me. I guess first and foremost, I provided you with a handout this evening in connection with a proposed amendment that I'd like to make to each case at this time. I also want you to know that I met prior to the meeting or when the meeting first began with Mr. Lee Domingue, who is here this evening, knowing that there would be some residents in the area that would have interest in this case, and I wanted them to have the same handout as well, so that when we go through the handout, they will have the benefit of what you're seeing. The first thing I would like to do is amend each case that is before you this evening. As to zoning case number 2020-2057ZC, I would like to amend the requested zoning to A4, but only as to the 11.97 acres that is shaded in the color blue, and that is on the third attachment given you in the packet. That's a 4-page packet. If you look in the upper right corner of each page, you'll see they're numbered, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Only 3 has colors. In that particular instance, the colors are only to designate the proposed zoning, so that all of the green, which is approximately 36 acres, will remain the A3 that it currently is today. The 11.97 acres, we request your consideration of a recommendation for A4. As to zoning case number 2020-2058 ZC, if you would turn to the fourth attachment, we amend our request and suggest that that PUD plan be the plan considered by the commission this evening. The plan does not materially differ in terms of number of lots and layout. But why have I come to you this evening with an amendment? I think we should talk a little bit about the history of the case. Presumably all of you remember hearing and considering Bayou Bend 4 or 5 months ago when it came before you. That is the first drawing that you have in that packet of 4, upper right corner, number 1. That was a request to rezone all 47.42 acres from A3 to A4 and create 140 lots, approximately 50 feet in width. The zoning commission did not see fit to make a positive recommendation. The matter was appealed to the council, and the council determined upon advice of legal counsel that it would be inappropriate for me to amend the petition before the council on appeal. That if I had another idea as to how I wanted to present this development, I would need to withdraw the appeal, refile the case, and come back to you. So that's precisely what we did, and that is the second drawing in your packet, and that's also the same configuration that's in your staff package, where we reduced the lot count from 140 lots to 89 lots. We increased the lot width, for the most part, from 50 to 65 feet, and we increased the open space area to 19.01 acres, a 60% increase of open space from the required amount pursuant to the PUD. So why pages 3 and 4 of this packet? Why have I made the amendment this evening? When I got the staff reports last Wednesday for these cases, staff, as was read to you this evening, had concerns about consideration of A4 zoning, what it would do to density, what it would do to compatibility in the area, the fact that the recreation area might be in areas that are too low, where people would not be able to enjoy the recreation areas. Also complained about the location and maybe the need for lot 89 at the end of the cul-de-sac, and other considerations. As a result of reading the staff reports, I decided that we could maybe do a better job with an 89 lot configuration. So the first thing that I determined was that in order to achieve a yield of 89 lots on 47.42 acres, I only need to rezone 11.97 acres to A4. That's the blue area shown on the third attachment in your packet. The A4 zoning allows 4 units per acre, and as you can see on that attachment 3, I've given you the calculations of how the density is arrived. In the A3 area, roughly 36 acres, they're only allowed 2 units per acre, but with a PUD, we take 75% of the allowable density. So you can see the arithmetic. The reason I did that was that we don't want more than 89 lots, and we respect the idea that we need to keep as much of this property as possible as A3. It's got A3 to the north, A3 to the south. There is also some pretty large swaths of A4 in the region, one piece being across the street on Carroll Road. I won't make the mistake tonight of giving you a vicinity map that shows you those big splotches of red like I did 5 months ago, because I remember some comments from some of you very well about the A4 and not thinking that A4 were appropriate. The approach this evening, however, is to keep the lot count within A3. A3 is 2 units per acre. 2 times 47.43 is 95 lots. If you did a straight A3 development, you would have to take roughly 550 square feet per lot and create a recreation area. That would knock an A3 lot count down to about 90 to 92. I chose 89 to be safe. Why A4? A4 allows me to make up, if you will, the density that I need to get to the lot count of 89. As Ms. Cook read in her staff report, if the whole track were A3 and it were done as a PUD, the lot count is only 71. Much in the same way that I discussed with you Dove Park Ridge, a project on Dove Park Road a few months ago, I believe the objective should be to come up with a plan where the density of the project is within the existing zoning of this property. I want to say it again. Currently, there's 47.42 acres zoned A3, and a straight A3 development without a PUD would clearly yield approximately 90 lots. Granted, they'd be in a different configuration. Granted, they'd have a different front. Granted, they would be located throughout the track. What we have attempted to do is to take the lots out of the westerly or lower land areas where staff had concerns. We have specifically reduced the number of detention ponds, which staff was concerned about, from 4 to 2 in that lower area. We have specifically made those ponds large enough so that there cannot be a suggestion that what happens if that open area gets developed in the future. I come back in a year, 3 years, or 5 years and want to add another 40 lots. That's why those ponds are where they are. Staff also had concerns about having concentrated and real recreation areas. Take a look at the area on either drawing 3 or 4 at the end of the cul-de-sac. With the location of those 2 ponds, you will now see that we have a nice large area that will be very accessible. You may remember that on the prior plan and in the staff report that staff was concerned that we had lot 89 sort of at the end of the cul-de-sac. Notice now that lot 89 is on the south side just before the cul-de-sac, that there is no lot at the end of the cul-de-sac. Again, to make it easy for people to get to the cul-de-sac, we'll develop, may I have just a few more minutes, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So that we can develop a parking area and develop an active recreation area. We still intend to have the walking paths around the ponds. We still want to preserve those areas to the extent that we can, make them environmentally sensitive, if you will. But we also think that having a consolidation of the green space at the end of the cul-de-sac should be very beneficial. Please notice that we have other pockets of green space throughout the development, as we had on the prior plans. Please notice that we've also created a servitude access to the westerly green space on the north side between the lots. Because staff felt that it would be of benefit to make sure that the residents would have more than one access point to that green space. I would also like to bring to your attention that we have done some preliminary research with regard to elevations, and we believe that our recreation area at the end of the cul-de-sac will range between the 8.5 to 9.5 foot mark, which is certainly a significant elevation as it relates to recreation use. The point being is that this should be a real recreation area that is not underwater 300 days of the year, but one that as a practical matter will be available for the use of the subdivision. The other thing we've done is we want to continue to use a series of ponds, one draining to the other, not only to make sure that we have plenty of detention, but we believe that we will develop a drainage and detention system that improves water quality before the water is discharged from the site. There will actually be settling, if you will, within these ponds to some extent as the water moves from one pond to the other. They'll be connected. And the idea is that we think that we can provide not only a series of ponds that effectively meet your drainage requirements, but also enhance the quality of the water that leaves the development as it heads ultimately toward the bayou. In summary, I would like to say that we feel that this effort via amendment answers the questions and concerns that we heard from you as a commission, from staff, and from the residents at the first hearing. We also think that these amendments address the comments and concerns evidenced in the most recent staff reports. Because at the end of the day, if the idea is that maybe we can live with a residential development here that has impacts of A3, well, this development provides that benefit. The lot count is 1.87, below 2 units per acre. Only 11.97 acres of the total need the A4 zoning. The PUD, even if it's never built, does not prevent, danger or situations where all of a sudden the density could multiply into many units. Notice that our A3 actually encapsulates the A4, and we did that intentionally. That's why we picked those lots to be zoned A4, so that there could be no real concern of abuse in the future if this development were to take a different turn. I am hopeful that you will bring me back to the podium if you have questions this evening. I'm anxious to hear the comments of those in the public that are here with us this evening. And I hope that you will agree that this Bayou Bend is a new Bayou Bend and one that might have a place on Carroll Road in that community. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shane. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of this development? Is there anyone that wishes to speak against this development? You got the cards. Good evening, sir, and your name?
It's actually.
Excuse me, my name is Jerry Hart. I live on Devon Drive, on the south side of Devon Drive. I'm 60 years old, which means I've most probably spent 52 years living on Devon Drive. I grew up on it. You know, other than in my 20s, I have lived on Devon Drive. Over the years, things have certainly improved as far as Carroll Road, the crime and everything. At one time it was a little worse. It's maybe people have gotten older. You know, it's truthfully the only problem with that whole area is Carroll Road. It's a 35-mile-an-hour shortcut between Bayou Liberty and Gauze. It's a speedway. It's a narrow highway. It's dark. It is. If you turn off of Highway 190 onto Carroll Road in the afternoons, starting at 4:30, traffic is backed up around the curve to the side entrance of Honaker Cemetery. I don't know where I appreciate that he's lowered the lot count, but where are these cars? What are we talking? 200 more cars a day in that area. Bayou Liberty Road from the other side, it's already backs up it's a shortcut for people coming like from Airport Road. They turn down, they go down Carroll Road. It's a shortcut going all directions to stay off of 190. Traffic at the red light and at the bridge backs up already. West Hall is part of this. West Hall is a nice road that we use to stay away from the highway. It's a 30-mile-an-hour residential road. But already coming back from Front Street in Slidell, traffic backs up. It's kind of it's not a direct T intersection. It's a little bit of a side, so it's hard to see when you get to Carroll Road. So traffic backs up. Add 200 more cars to this. Already, because of the backup at Gauze, already cars use Garden Drive and Liberty Drive behind Carolyn Park School already as a shortcut. It goes into Huntwick. Already that happens. It's just, there's no positives other than the people that are, so the only positive about this thing is the financial gain of the people building this. They have no connection to Slidell, as far as I can tell, Googling it. It's a company out of Florida. One of the owners is out of Baton Rouge. For the last 24 years, I have located underground utilities in this area. That's what I do. I see subdivisions start at the survey and go up. I don't know anything about zoning and all that, but what I know is what happens when a subdivision's being built. Right now in Slidell area, you have that large one, Lakeshore Village, behind the car dealerships. You have Ashton Park off of Hass Road. The one that's about to start across from Briar Lake. Magnolia Ridge down 41 in Pearl River. The one thing they all have in common is they're by themselves. There's no other people that were living there. I live on the south side of Devon Drive. My backyard, my back property line will connect with that. I'm sure he has plans. The drainage plans are wonderful. Go to any of these new subdivisions that are coming up. Any of them, whether they've started or they're already living there. When a subdivision is built, the first thing they do is they clear the land. Then they bring in unlimited amounts of dirt, of fill. They add drainage. I'm sure their drainage plan is great. If you look at any of these new homes, this is what you see. You see the house. The street is the lowest part of the subdivision. The front yards are angled. Drainage at the street, that's great. What you don't see is the backyards, which are level with the house. The backyards are level. They can have all these plans for drainage. They can't do anything about gravity. My yard, the yards on the south side of Devon Drive will be lower. They will be lower. These houses were built in the 50s and 60s. Elevation minimums have changed over the years, especially after Katrina. I don't know the numbers, but they certainly have changed. It's impossible for my backyard and all the yards on Devon Drive and the south side of Garden to not flood. It's gravity. It's reality. The traffic will be horrible. They can't do anything about that. It's just a very bad thing for the area.
Okay,
So
thank you.
very much.
We've got several other folks that would like to speak. Yes, ma'am. Good evening. State your name and address, please.
Good evening, sir. My name is Donna McDonald. I live at 35075 Oak Ridge Avenue. Our property is directly south of the proposed Bayou Bend subdivision. Even with his changes, this is a very dense development. In the last few years on our property, we have witnessed deer, bobcat, foxes, many other wildlife species that have moved into our property because of overly dense developments in the area. Our home lies on the banks of Bayou Liberty, and it has flooded 4 times since the May 9th, 1995 flood. 5 generations of my husband's family has lived in this home, and it never flooded before 1995. Minor storms and rain events of today affect our property to levels that we have never seen before. The projected drainage for the proposed Bayou Bend subdivision is through the Viosca property, and I'd like to point out that Viosca Road is not a public road. It is a private driveway. So their drainage is going to come across the Viosca property and onto our property. This is in 4,000 feet of ditches and culverts that were privately built and are privately maintained every year by us. And they were installed to give our property drainage, not to drain other properties. The runoff from the raw land of this 47.43 acres is still significant. The raw land has the capacity to absorb the water. If this is allowed to proceed, I have very great fears of what the negative impacts will be on our properties, the Viosca property and our properties. The developers are seeking two very significant zoning changes, and I've listened to their attorney advise that drainage will be addressed in the future, that final subdivision plans will be brought in, drainage studies will be made. Well, the drainage is affecting us today, and I believe that the drainage simply must be addressed with the zoning change, especially as it affects the properties immediately in the area and downstream. My husband has lived on our property for 67 years. I have lived through every distressing, gut-wrenching flood that we have endured. I have experienced and watched the consequences of drainage issues on Bayou Liberty. I'm aware of a drainage study that's more than 30 years old that shows Bayou Liberty was at drainage capacity then. Since that time, we have had developments, both retail, commercial, and subdivisions in the area, and all of those developments use Bayou Liberty and then ultimately Lake Pontchartrain as a drainage ditch. If the bayou was at drainage capacity 30 years ago, where is it today? The attorneys has also shown that there's, and stated that there's other high-density areas in close proximity to his proposed development. He did tonight state that there were also very low-density areas there, and that includes our property. We realize that all developments will affect the surrounding properties, or at least they may affect the surrounding properties. However, this proposed high-density development is clustered, and it will have an immeasurable impact on our homes and on our properties, and we are requesting that you deny both zoning changes.
Thank you, Ms. McDowell. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Sharon Newton. I'm on Garden Drive.
What was your name?
Sharon Newton, and I live on Garden Drive. And I wanted to address the same thing, this gentleman with the traffic, but the thing he also forgets, we have two elementary schools, not even a quarter of a mile down the road off of Carroll Road, so it's also a challenge with the school buses that'll be coming, that are always there. There are going to be more children in that community, so that a lot of the traffic because of the school time and what's going on is also a big issue. The other thing that I'm real concerned about, if we change it to the PUD overlay, as Mr. Shane said, we don't know what's going to go on down the future. So Parish is talking about trying to make the future of we're planning for the future of St. Tammany Parish. We don't know what PUD's going to do later. It opens it up for anything to happen. We do not want to change to a PUD overlay, but to keep it in A3, whatever it is, in A3 wording.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Lee Domingue. I live at 34057 Bayou Liberty Road. I currently serve as president of the Bayou Liberty Association. For myriad reasons, we oppose both petitions for zoning change for this parcel of land. And it's important to recognize that even though this is the third iteration, perhaps with the fourth iteration, it may be reasonable and acceptable. But right now, any change to an A4 PUD is an increased density, which allows up to 5 to 6 home sites per acre. That's hyperdense. Once that occurs, it's there in perpetuity. We will always have that difficulty with that parcel of land, 11 acres in this case, with the latest iteration. And whether it's in 10 years or 20 years, the next developer is going to come on and try to develop it as an A4 PUD with that density. Now look, also realize, once you set the precedent of developing or changing zoning in this very sensitive area, whether it's tomorrow or 6 months or a year later, what's going to happen is another representative for another developer is going to come by and say, we have the adjoining property, they have an A4 PUD, now we would like to have an A4 PUD. The truth is, this parcel of land was designed as an A3 district. That's not unreasonable, because back when it was done so, which was in the New Decisions 2025, it actually had adjoining properties, one of which is Devon. The next to that is Gordon Drive. Following that is Liberty Drive. Those are A3 areas, but the vast majority of property in this vicinity is A1 and A2, not A3 or A4. And I can talk about the A4 subdivision across Carroll Road, but I would not say anything positive about it, to be honest with you. It's a very large subdivision. It obviously is A4. It's been there for 40 or 50 years. It's probably 500 home sites. It goes all the way almost to Bayou Bunfaka. The homes are apparently poorly built, ill-maintained, and it looks that way. That's not what we want in St. Tammany, and it surely is not anything that we want in a very sensitive area like this parcel of land. This parcel of land exists in the Bayou Liberty Basin. All drainage dumps into Bayou Liberty ultimately after it crosses the Viosca property and the McDonald's property. Those are big problems for all of us who live both downstream and upstream on Bayou Liberty. And or even in the vicinity of Bayou Liberty. We are tired of being flooded. We're tired of having our properties have water. What we're looking for is not no development. That's not the ultimate goal here. We would like to have good development that's consistent with the district zoning of the property, and it's done so that drainage doesn't come downhill and helps to further flood our areas again. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wish to speak against? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jeannie Stangl, 59385 Neslo Road, also known as Mrs. Abear. I put 5 kids through those schools, and it's dangerous with the school buses as it is right now, very narrow. Also, no mention has been made of the historical sites that are along Bayou Liberty. Camp Salmon was set aside for natural retention of water. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else? We've extended the time for those against, as well as Mr. Shane, who's for. And if there's no one else that wishes to speak, I'm going to go to the rebuttal. Mr. Shane.
Thank you. I'll try to contain it within 5 minutes. If I need more, I'll ask to see if the commission's will. I guess my overriding comment would be, I understand and respect the comments I heard this evening, and I realize beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. But the suggestion that this amendment and this proposal intensifies the density or the lot count from what is currently there is simply false. With all due respect to some of the comments made, and I ask staff to interrupt me and correct me if I'm mistaken, even the 12 acres that we're asking for as it relates to A4 when it becomes a PUD, it does not provide 5 to 6 units per acre. Look at your staff report, which clearly shows you that A3 allows 2 units per acre, A4 allows 4 units per acre, and if you do a PUD, you get 75%. So if this whole tract were zoned A4 and made a PUD, the maximum density would be 3 units per acre times 47.42 acres. But let's get back to what we're asking. It's currently A3. 47.42 times 2 is 95. We're requesting 89 units. Any suggestion that this is an upzone, that it's increasing the density, that it's incompatible with what's in the area. In fact, look at the staff report for the zoning case and look at the zoning map you've been provided with all that yellow. There's A3 all around it. And yes, there's some A4, a large swath of A4 across the street. My point is that this project and this development is compatible. It wasn't when we came to you 5 months ago. We understood, or we heard that, and we don't disagree. But now I think we've made it compatible. And what other benefits does it provide? Look at the green space it's providing for the people that live in that community. The opportunity to recreate, the opportunity to fish in those ponds. This proposal has over 11 acres of ponds. Almost 25% of the site will be ponded. That is incredible in terms of percentages as it relates to most developments. Now, yes, drainage and traffic are going to have to be tested by a traffic and drainage study, which will be submitted to you at preliminary. And I know to some extent that sounds like a broken record, but that data is simply not available now. I will tell you this, staff characterized the condition of Carroll Road as good in the staff report on page 1. And Carroll Road, in my view, just from looking at it and driving it on occasion, not regularly, it is a good, smooth, hard surface. We understand that development will in fact generate more traffic. But quite frankly, the track in its current A3 state, if developed, is going to generate more traffic. As it relates to drainage, with 11 acres of ponds and 25% reduction, we're actually going to reduce the rate of runoff from this tract toward Mrs. McDonald and others, as opposed to the rate of runoff today in its undeveloped state. Shrinking the lots from 140 to 89 was a 33% reduction. The statement that this is a very dense or a high-density development, I just don't think it bears out. I mean, it comes in less than 2 units per acre, which it is currently zoned, A3. Plus, it's going to have an engineered drainage system. It's going to have a central sewer and water system. It's going to have fire protection. It's going to have a lot of things that some of the residents in that area don't have because those amenities or that infrastructure is not available. So I think it's a plus. Last but not least, I'd like you to take a look, please, at page 3 of the exhibit. Please understand that the only area being rezoned is A4. And the suggestion that if this PUD were abandoned or never came to be, use your own imagination and try to figure out how that blue area could be abused to pack in more density than we have there now. May I have just another minute or two?
Yeah.
I put the A4 there, surrounded by A3 intentionally, so that it could not be abused or used to produce a more dense development under another scenario. At the end of the day, I think the message from you months ago and from staff was that if Bayou Bend were to be considered as a land use case before you as a zoning commission, I needed to demonstrate to you that the density would be appropriate, would be consistent with the current zoning, and would be compatible with what's in the area. I think I've done that. I think it's something that you should consider because I think this can be a compatible component on Carroll Road. It's one that can work, and quite frankly, it could serve as a model for other developments in other areas where developers are willing to make sure that there's quality and limitations as to density, and not simply be looking for how many lots can we get out of this tract. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I had extended some additional time to Mr. Shane. I'll send to those speaking against the same amount of time. Mr. Lee.
Once again, Lee Domingue. My comments earlier about the A4 with the PUD merely indicate what could happen with the PUD. It does not suggest that the last iteration of this project called Bayou Bend is reflective of 5 to 6 home sites per acre. Nonetheless, once you begin changing an area like this from A3 to an A4 with a PUD, it opens up a can of worms. You have a precedent set. Additional properties adjacent to this, which may still be rural, will also be eyed by future developers who will want to do the same thing. The point, in fact, is the property's A3 now. You can develop 95 home sites on this property based on 47.43 acres. By all means, do so. But make sure that the development is such that it doesn't adversely affect everyone else in the vicinity or up and downstream on Bayou Liberty. To do that, you may have to be innovative. Put less concrete, less asphalt, less fill. Don't build slab houses. Don't use concrete for driveways. Use alternative measures to allow the soil, the natural land, to reabsorb the water and go into the substrata to diminish, if not eliminate, subsidence, to return the water to the aquifers filtered by nature and not run off into adjoining properties and further inundate an already maximized Bayou Liberty. Remember, all of these developments, particularly one such as is indicated on the most recent plot plan, develop these lots, these home sites, on tremendous amounts of concrete or asphalt. That land can no longer absorb water. The runoff must go somewhere. And unfortunately, Bayou Liberty can't take more. In addition to that, you have fertilizers, pesticides, oil and gas from various automobiles and machinery. All of that goes into the bayou and ultimately into Lake Pontchartrain. We have to do better as a parish. We have to mandate that things like this should not go forward, and we have to think about alternative measures, particularly in sensitive areas, and it doesn't just involve the Bayou Liberty Basin. It involves probably all waterways in St. Tammany. We have to stop doing things the old way. We're well into the 21st century. Therefore, we recognize, and we're not against development. I keep on saying that, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we have to have good development. And this, right now, with these zoning changes, does not represent good development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else that spoke against, wish to rebut anything Mr. Shane has said? Yes, sir.
The minimum elevations for these lots will be higher than my yard, the yards on the south side of Devon Drive. It is just, it's the law. It's the way it is. Their yards will be higher than mine. The backyards on the south side of Devon Drive will flood. There's nowhere, it's gravity. It's reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? All right, I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Drum. You should be on. Hit your mic button on the.
4. There we go. I know this area very, very well. I go up and down this road at least twice a week, so I can go feed my wife at some restaurant down there. I'm going to do this in a way that maybe you can understand. When you look at the maps, the aerial photos that they've given us, okay, and you look at Iroquois and Carroll Road. Now, when you're going north, you have to literally turn your entire body to the left to see what's coming up Carroll Road. And it is most uncomfortable. Now, if you also notice that property that they want to build the 89 homes on is directly across the street, and that road's going to be coming out right there. I guarantee you that somewhere along that way, there's going to be an accident or two because you're more concerned about Carroll Sioux coming from the south than you are coming out of that subdivision. Down here where Bayou Liberty and Carroll come together is very narrow, and when you make your turns, either left or right, if you go down Bayou Liberty or you go the other direction towards this town, that is also a very hard turn. And it's difficult even for people who are excellent drivers such as myself. Now, when you go up Carroll Road to Gauze, that light is very fickle. It benefits Gauze Boulevard over Carroll Road. And even on a regular day, when you're dealing with school buses and people coming out of the funeral home, or you're trying to get to the service station or whatever, you stay there at least 2 or 3 times on just a normal day. That's not going to work, getting off work. So the traffic on this road, Carroll Road is not the widest thing going. You know, Iroquois, you can forget it. That's extremely narrow. It's even more narrow than Carroll Road. And every traffic report you do, you can do all the studies you want. But all this area, Bayou Liberty, Carroll Road, Iroquois, is not going to be able to handle that additional 180 cars or whatever, including some of those guys who have the trucks that are 10 feet tall and need a ladder to get into. So I've been there for the last 2 100-year floods, and that road does handle water runoff very badly because you got the subdivisions to the east of it, the subdivisions to the west of it. You have the school kids trying to get out of school. When those buses try to make the turn, they take up both sides of Carroll Road to get into the school or get out of the school. And there is no way I can see any way that you can make traffic better without putting a highway through there. There's no way. And I could see maybe 5 new homes, 10 if you push it, but 89, I don't think 89 homes are going to make it. It's just a terrible area to try to squeeze that much into one small area. In my opinion, I would make a motion to deny because there's no way that area can handle those many homes.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion to deny by Commissioner Drum, Commissioner Barcelona.
Have a question from Mr. Shane. So if the property remained at A3, how many homes could be developed on that property? What's the maximum number of homes that could be developed?
I think it's fair to say that you could probably get a yield between 90 and 92.
Okay, that's with the current A3 zoning.
I mean, it's actually 2 times the acreage, but you have to leave some recreation areas.
Okay, so if it,
And
so-
you have to have right-of-way areas.
Okay.
But I think a yield plan would probably suggest around 90, plus or minus.
so if it stays at A3 and those houses are developed, it's gonna generate traffic.
Absolutely. I think the lot count would be the same as it is on this PUD,
And then how many lots are you proposing?
89.
So technically, the traffic should be about the same.
I think it will be identical. I don't think that this development, in terms of the PUD or the layout, is going to intensify the lot count or the density.
So no traffic study has been completed?
No, sir, because we obviously have not received a recommendation or an indication from the council that this property could be zoned for this PUD. But we understand that the traffic study and the drainage study are big hurdles, and that we're gonna have to have hard answers. It's not gonna be maybes or what-ifs when we come back to you as a planning commission if we have that opportunity.
So even if it stayed at A3, a traffic study, if the property was developed in the future, you'd have to do a traffic study?
Absolutely. We have to come to the planning commission to seek tentative preliminary subdivision approvals as it relates to layout, and that would include traffic studies and drainage studies. So, I mean, I think it's the same plate.
Okay, anything else?
Thank
Paul?
you. That's it, thank you.
Commissioner Seeger.
Mr. Shane, with the original plan, Exhibit 1, the density was 2.95. And do you know off the top of your hand what the percentage of the green space was there?
Yes, sir. It met the 25%. 11 in the block on the right-hand side of Exhibit 1 where I have some yellow. Above it, you'll see that 11.66, I think that's what that says, or 11.86 acres was required to meet the 25% open space, and we provided 12.73 acres on the 140 lot plan.
And so with the new proposed plan, you're going to have the same number of lots, basically. You're going to have the same number of, same amount of traffic, and you're going to be giving up an extra approximately 7 acres for green space.
Yes, sir. Actually, from number 1 to number 3 and 4, we decreased the lots from 140 to 89. We increase the open space by 60% up to 19.01 acres.
So with 140 lots, the potential with the green space is 95 houses? And the other question I have is, where is the egress for the drainage?
We haven't done the drainage study, but we're all very confident that it is going to be in the southwesterly corner of the track. In other words, at the bottom left, if you will.
And I'm sorry, I've forgotten the people's names. Will it go across their private property?
I assume it will go, well, it can't go across their private property unless there's either a public servitude or a natural drain. But I have not seen the McDonald's title or survey, but I have no reason to doubt what they're saying, that that's where the natural drainage must go.
And so there's a public servitude there?
I do not know that. Well, let me say this. If there is currently water flow from this track across their property, yes, sir, there is what we call a natural but public drainage right. Now, that doesn't mean that we've studied it, because I'm not trying to misstate that, but I also don't want to be ambiguous. I think the water's going to go in that direction. Our job is going to be to make sure the rate of the water that flows today, right after Zeta last week, that rate's reduced by 25%, and we want to flush it through these 4 ponds so that the water quality will be the best that it can reasonably be.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Reese.
Yeah, I've got a question for staff. My first question would be, have you had adequate time to review this new plan?
No.
The plan was submitted, just 1:30 this afternoon.
So you've done no review of this new plan at all? Right, basically, okay. Second question I have then, this stormwater, the runoff from here that was brought up about is there a public servitude? So do you even know that we have the ability to direct this water without adverse effects down on the downstream side?
We have not done a detailed review nor consulted with the engineering department.
Okay. And then the other note was, one of the things I've learned about PUDs that I got caught off guard many times with and decided I wasn't going to let that happen anymore. Note 10, we're going to have 42-foot driveways on a couple lots noted in the restrictive covenants. And I think the parish ordinance requires 60 foot, is that correct? So that's a non-starter too on that covenant. At least for me it is. I've stated before, I no longer will approve any more of those on the design end when it can be designed out right from the get-go. So may mean one less lot, may mean some more green space somewhere. Doesn't really, my point isn't determine what you do with it, but we gotta quit doing that. And until we draw a line, which I said I was gonna draw for myself, it doesn't meet my requirement. Staff has not had time to adequately review the plan. I second the motion to deny.
Okay. We have a motion to deny and seconded by Commissioner Reese. Commissioner Crawford. You should be on.
Huh? Am I on that? Yes, okay. I just had a comment to make. Mr. Shane, I commend you on attempting to improve the project, and you have improved the project quite a bit. I'm familiar with the area, very familiar with Carroll Road, very familiar with Jefferson Avenue and the whole general vicinity. It's very low. I see the property is flood zone A, AE, basically. I'm concerned about the flooding potential for homes there. That's not something new. Anytime we build in flood zone A or something, especially on a body of water, there's flood potential. I'm not in favor of zoning, the A4 zoning change. I'm glad to see the denial, and I would like to clarify that denial is for the first case, for the zoning case. Okay. But if we were looking at a straight A3 PUD with, I think you said 71 home sites or something like that, that might be a different story, but we're not today. So those are my comments, and I was going to second if Mr. Reese didn't.
Okay.
That's it.
Commissioner Barcelona.
I guess at this point, since this has been amended and submitted today, and the staff has not had a chance to look at it, we basically have no recommendation from staff on this revised plan. So it's...
That's correct. Okay? All right. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to deny. Commissioner Willie.
There we go. I'm hearing some conflict here. We hear people wanting to deny, and then at the same time, we got where staff hasn't had a chance to look at the recommendation. It just seems like more in order to be more likely to postpone it instead of deny it. So I'd like to put on the floor a motion to postpone.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Willie to postpone. Second by Commissioner Barcelona. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Oh, there you go. I was going to make a similar comment that if staff hasn't had time,
that the current zoning allows for this property to be developed as A3. And that would have to still come to planning, and we would look at the driveways and the drainage and the traffic. But it can be built to a density greater than what's being asked for today. So I just say I should keep that in mind. But I was going to make the same recommendation to postpone.
Okay. We've got a motion to postpone. I believe that takes
By Mr. Willie.
precedence. Pardon? Who said something? Emily? Okay, you were just answering the question? Okay, all right. All right, so the motion on the floor that we will vote on is to postpone for 1 month to our next meeting. Please vote.
Mr. Crawford? The motion to postpone for 1 month carries.
Okay. Thank you.
2057.
Yeah, 2057 and then the 2058 will need to be postponed as well. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
The adjoining case.
2058, okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to postpone case 2020-2058-ZC, which is a sister case of 2057. Commissioner Seeger.
Motion.
Second by Commissioner Seeger. Commissioner Randolph. Okay. All right, we got a motion to postpone 2020-2058-ZC. Please vote.
The motion to postpone 2058 for 1 month carries.
Thank you. There it is.
Those are both with the amendments, correct?
Pardon?
Those
Huh?
are both with the amendments?
Okay. Mr. Shane.
Maybe I misunderstood the comment. The applications were amended this evening. I've misunderstood the comment. I'll sit down. But I amended each
No,
application at the outset. So what has been postponed are the amended applications.
That's correct.
I'm sorry. Okay, if I misunderstood, forgive me.
I don't think we made that clear, to be very honest. Okay? All right. All right, item 6, 2020-2065-ZC, existing zonings HC2, Highway Commercial District, proposed zonings HC2, Highway Commercial District, and MHO, Manufactured Housing Overlay. Location, parcel located on the east side of Bel Air Drive, south of US Highway 190, Slide L, Ward 8, District 14. It's 0.16 acres. Petitioner is Eva DeLon. Owner is Wanda Wright, Council District 14. Staff? You need to.
The subject property was rezoned in 2011 from A4 single-family residential to HC2 highway commercial. The property is currently developed with an existing manufactured home. The applicant is trying to bring the site into compliance with the correct zoning designation, and staff is not opposed to the request as it complies with the site's comprehensive plan designation.
Thank you. All right, Eva DeLon, are you in the audience? Yes, ma'am. Come to the mic, please. Good evening.
Hi.
So you're wanting to add a manufactured housing overlay on an HC2, and it's 0.16 acres. Is that correct?
Correct, on a pre-existing manufactured mobile home that's been there since 1998. I just want to reconnect the lights.
right, let me catch up with all the paper here, just give me a minute. All right. Okay, there is currently a manufactured housing on
Correct.
that lot. and
That has been there. Yes, sir.
Just getting the zoning corrected. To where it
Correct.
needs to be.
I've already
Okay.
installed a new septic system. It took from April till September to get the permit. And I did not know about the mobile home overlay needing to be there because it was a pre-existing mobile home that's been in our family since the land was there.
There's a lot of mobile homes in this parish that don't have a manufactured housing.
Correct.
But that goes back a number of years.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Anything else?
No, sir, I just would like
Okay.
my electricity turned on.
All right, anyone else in the audience wish to speak in favor of this zoning change? Yes, sir. Come forward. Good evening.
John Macalusa. This piece of property, the lady's trying to enhance it. It was the Bamboo Lounge, and the police stopped by, okay? And it's going down. Now she's trying to get something nice there, I think. And so I'm thinking it's going to upgrade it. And if she has to meet all your regulations, then it's really going to look nice, okay? So I think it'd do a whole lot of good. We need to really do something with Shortcut Highway. It's got, the elevation makes it almost impossible to do something, but we do need it for commercial, people going on Military Road and out to the Gulf. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anna Sharfinson? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Anna Scharfenstein, and I live on 57297 Bel Air Drive. And we've been trying to get the mobile homes away from Bel Air Drive because it degrades the property and the property value goes down.
Okay.
And we just, trying not to keep getting more mobiles. At one time, they had stopped putting mobile homes, but after Katrina, they let it slip by. But now we're just trying not to get too many mobile homes on that road.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I guess probably your better half, David Scharfenstein.
How are y'all? David Scharfenstein, 57281, not the better half, but the son. Probably the better half. So the issue that we're seeing with this property, we're not opposed to the HC2 or the highway commercial. This property is 100% visible from 190 East. It's less than a quarter of a mile from North Shore High School. It's in a preferred school district, so we're just trying to make sure that we don't, allow another mobile home to come in. She's saying she wants to get the electricity turned on. That's fine, but I think the end goal is to get another mobile home in its place. So that's what we're trying to avoid. Lillian Drive, which is one block over from Bel Air, we've got 6 new stick-built homes on that street. So we're looking out for, the areas around us. Panther Drive, North Shore Lane, those all have new developments on it. So this is really within walking distance to that area. So we're just trying to minimize the impact. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Brent Zeller, excuse me. He left, okay. Daniel Spade?
My name is Daniel Spade. I also live on Bel Air Drive. And here a few years ago, they opened up Interstate and put a mall right down the road, which is, great for that area. And where we do have a couple of mobile homes on the street and in that area, we don't want it overran with mobile homes, which is what's starting to happen. It's been a few years ago, whenever she come over here and wanted to move a mobile home on a lot that she had. Our concern was then that she was gonna rent the mobile home out. There was a house already on the lot. She said she was gonna use for storage. And then both lots now have other people living in them. And it's we know that whenever she moves another mobile home over here, she's gonna rent that out as well. And y'all know that, on average, that, whenever you rent houses out, that your property value in that neighborhood value is gonna drop about 14%. That's across the United States. That's not our neighborhood. Some neighborhoods are different, but the rental properties and mobile homes will affect our property value. And when they opened up the mall down the street from us, we was excited about that. It's gonna open up that area. The lot that she wants, there is a mobile home there, and I mean, it is an eyesore, so yeah, you could throw a bag of trash out on the lot and it would improve the lot, absolutely. But we are opposed to moving another mobile home over there. Nothing against her, but we just don't want another mobile home in the area, that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, anyone else wish to speak against?
Me?
Just a minute.
Oh, okay.
Come to the mic. And then you need to fill out a speaker card.
I will. My name's Robert Chamberlain, and as far as the trailer that's on the lot, she's not looking to put another trailer there. About 5 or 6 lots down, there's people living in storage units that they've turned into houses. And it's a community. To me, that's an eyesore. She's not looking to put any more trailers in. She's just trying to get electricity to the existing one. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else wish to speak against? Yes, ma'am. We hadn't gone to rebuttal yet. We'll get it in just a minute. The lady back in the back, you want to speak against? Okay, we'll go to rebuttal, and Ms. DeLon, and then the other lady, you can come on up too, but you need to fill out a speaker card and everything. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Again, this is one mobile home that has been there in our family for a long time.
It's been in my,
Nobody wants to put another mobile home on that property. And if people would have just said, hey, what you gonna do, instead of thinking that they know what I'm gonna do. She's the future, and she needs an apartment complex that people can live in comfortably, cheaply, and affordably on that property. Nobody wants to move another mobile home on that property. I just want the electricity turned onto the trailer that's already there. That is an eyesore, because without power, I cannot run stuff that I need to clean the place with. I can't run a power saw, not a power saw, I'm sorry, a power washer, can't run a lawnmower worth of crud if I have to use gas, because I can't use gas too much. I just want the electricity put on in the trailer that's been there forever and a day, that it's been since April, that we have been asking and doing what we needed to do to go by the rules and put this down and get the permits that we need. And I don't like the people living on my street that I've lived on there. My mother bought her property in 1959, 64, something in there. And I don't like the people living in shanties either. But that's not what I'm here to say anything about. I'm here to say, I just want the chance to live in the trailer that has been there with no other mobile home overlays that needed to be done that I was aware of. And now that I'm aware of it, we're trying to make it right and do what we need to do to get back into a home that's been on the land that nobody wants to replace or put another one on. That's not what this is about. This is about getting electricity to the pre-existing building. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am,
Yes.
the other lady there, you need to state your name and address and fill out a speaker card.
what did he say?
She's hard of hearing.
He said you need to Fill out your name and address on the speaker card when you're finished.
Okay, thank you. I'm hard of hearing.
Okay, I am too. So
Very hard.
state your name and address,
All right.
okay? And tell us what you want to tell us.
Tell them your name.
My name is Wanda Wright, and the property has been in my family since approximately 1958. And there's been a trailer there forever. My brother left there because he was sick and he passed away, and they turned off the power. I didn't know that he was going to pass away, or I would have taken care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, Ms. DeLon, are you gonna rent this out?
I'm gonna live there in this one.
Okay. All right.
If you had neighbors that would ride up and down the street with their, I'm not about that kind of people.
Okay, all right.
Keep your drawers on.
Well, I just saw the two different names. One's the
That's
owner.
my sister.
Yeah,
She's
okay.
not computer literate, but I'm not either, so we
Okay,
kinda look
all right. We're gonna go to rebuttal. And those of you that were speaking against, we're gonna have 5 minutes for rebuttal, and you can come up and state your name and,
David Sharpenstein, 57281 Bel Air Drive. You know, saying that they're not gonna bring another new trailer in, that's one thing, but rezoning this so that they can or will possibly, that's the other thing that we're worried about. Bringing power to a trailer, we're not against that at all, but, you know, if we rezone it to have a mobile home put back on it, eventually one can be put there. And you can see this directly, like I said, from 190 east with nothing in between.
okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to, yes, ma'am?
Isn't a mobile home overlay?
Come.
I'm sorry. I just gotta ask one question to clarify. Isn't a mobile home overlay only good for that particular place and time, and then it's lifted so nobody else can have a mobile home overlay there?
No.
Then how did we not have an overlay still in place from 2007 when I put the first mobile home on that street?
Well, you probably didn't apply for, and the parish didn't, catch that it was a mobile home going in there.
Oh, they did, because I was visiting y'all for 3 months.
Okay, well.
I'm just saying that I had to rent out the other house because I couldn't live where I was living.
Okay, and you understand that if this manufactured housing overlay passes tonight, it's gotta be anchored, it's gotta be skirted and everything else, okay? All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So we don't have any other comments from the public. I'm gonna bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Being that this is an existing mobile home, and being that this is without electricity at this time, and it needs to meet the current requirements of the parish, I move to approve.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Bernie, did you have? Oh, there you go. All right.
All right, I got a question of staff, I guess. First of all, about moving another mobile home onto the property. Being it's just 0.16 acres, that would be the extent of the mobile home overlay. I don't think you can add another trailer to that property.
No, commercial property allows one single-family residence per commercial property, no matter how big it is.
Okay, another question is, very seldom you see a mobile home overlay request on HC2. Would they be able to use that mobile home as a commercial venture since it's in HC2?
They could apply to, but they would have to bring the site into compliance with commercial regulations, like landscape, drainage, parking, signage.
So it is possible
The
to
whole
use that
9
mobile
yards.
home as a business building?
Well, the mobile home would have to be brought up to commercial standards. like a commercial building, which
Okay, because I know that
could
one
probably
gentleman
be
mentioned it used to be a lounge, stop by lounge or something like that. And I didn't want it to turn into something like that again.
It would be very difficult to
Okay.
use
All
that mobile home as a commercial.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. We've got a motion to approve by Commissioner Seeger. Do I have a second?
Randolph. Second.
Do we have a second? Okay. All right, any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, next item is item 7, 2020-2069-ZC. Existing zonings A1 Suburban District, RO Rural Overlay, and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay. Proposed zoning is A1 Suburban District and RO Rural Overlay. Parcel located on the north and south sides of Cody Lane, west of $1 Million Road, Covington, Ward 2, District 6. It's 37.75 acres. The petitioners are St. Tammany Parish Council, Council District 6. Staff?
The subject site was part of a 1,200-acre site that was rezoned to accommodate the manufactured housing overlay during the comprehensive rezoning. Cody Lane consists of a majority of single-family residences, and the addition of manufactured homes is inconsistent with the neighborhood's existing uses. As such, staff is not opposed to the request to remove the manufactured housing overlay designation along all sides of Cody Lane.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Seeing no one, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Seeger. Commissioner Willie. Second by Commissioner Willie. Yes, sir.
May I ask one question? Why is the petitioner St. Tammany Parish Council and not the landowners?
Well, you'll have to ask staff. It came to us, from the council.
The council made the request and referred it to
Yeah, we see
the zoning
these from
commission.
time to time, Paul. So, all right, we've got a motion and a second. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any new business? Do we have any old business? Do we have an adjournment? Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Did you want to say something? No, sir. Oh.